guys, so today we're working on boiling a couple of Euro mounts. And so these things have been sitting since last December, a couple months anyways. So they dried out, but then the last couple of days we've had them soaking in a bucket of water. So they've already been soaking for a couple days just to help that flesh kind of soften up and soak up some water. Now, I've never done Euro mounts myself before. Someone else has always done them. So this is a first for me, and so it's going to be kind of a learning experience. But from what I have watched on other YouTube videos, which there's hundreds of them out there, and what I've read, everybody kind of has a different way of doing it. So I'm going to do it kind of my way and use different things that I've found from other people and see how they turn out. And so we have the roasting pan here, we have the Dawn dish detergent, the baking soda, and a bucket of hot water. I just got the hot water from inside, so that way it's already starting off hot rather than having to start heating up the cold water. So I'm going to pour it in there and see how much water I want. Looks like we might want to level out the roasting pan a little bit. Let's see if we can move it. It's not too bad. So from the stuff that I read and saw, is you might get a little bit of discoloration on your antlers from where it's touching the side and heats up. And then you might get just a little bit of discoloration from the baking soda and Dawn dish soap. I'm not too terribly concerned about it with these, but I'm going to do my best just to prop them up out of the water. So that's how we're going to want them. Now I'm going to pull them back out. Then I'm going to add the Dawn dish soap. So use the dish soap so that way it breaks down the oils and helps pull the oil out of the bone. How much to use, I have no idea. Then add some baking soda. I'm sure there's a better science behind this. Alright, I'm going to plug it in, let it start heating up. I think I'm going to start it out about on 250 for this first cycle, because what we're going to do is we're going to boil it and then pull the skulls out, pressure wash them, dump the water out, refresh the water, and then start the process over again and do that 2 or 3 times until they're looking good and clean. So the roasting pan is set at 250, and we're probably going to leave it for 2 or 3 hours. We're actually going to head out to the shooting range, and then we'll come back. Hopefully the flesh will be softened up by then. Power wash them, refresh all the water, boil it again. From the other things that I've watched and read is that if you cook them and boil them too long, then your bone's going to become super brittle. And then if you do it too hot and too fast, the bone is then going to become very brittle as well and start cracking apart. So you kind of want to find a sweet spot of like time and temperature to where the flesh is starting to fall off, but you're not cooking it too hot or too long. So again, this is my first time doing it, so it's going to be partially trial and error, but this is what we're going to try this time, and we'll see how it works out. And so we'll catch back up with you guys in a couple hours once these have sat here and cooked for a little while, and show you the next step that we're going to do, power washing. Alright, so these things have been cooking all day. We had the roasting pan outside to begin with, and it just wasn't staying hot enough. That breeze was pulling too much of the heat off of it. And so we moved the roasting pan inside the garage, and then we ended up wrapping some insulation around it too, because the roasting pan was turned up all the way and it still wasn't getting hot enough. So these things cooked all day long, and some of the meat's starting to come off, as you can see, but then there's some of it that's still on there pretty good. So we're gonna power wash it for today, and then we'll cook it again tomorrow and try to cook more of that meat off there and get that temperature up a little bit earlier to begin with. But it's starting to do its job. It's starting to come apart. And so this is one of the three. And so we're gonna start power washing it. But learning process, we haven't done this before, and we're using a roasting pan, and we're not using like a jet boiler or anything like that. So it's looking pretty good so far. Just not falling off the bone quite yet. So we'll get the power washer going and see how she looks when we're done. This thing's probably gonna go flying like right as soon as I start blasting. I got all my rain gear on, so I don't end up covered in chunks of stuff. But see how she does. Alright, so that is how it's turned out so far after one cooking and one power washing. There's some chunks of flesh on there still that are just being really difficult to get off. So I'm going to cook it again tomorrow, and hopefully that'll help cook all that stuff off. But you can see inside the nasal cavity there, it's pretty much cleaned out. It looks really good. So that's one of the main spots that you want to get into. And then back here in the brain cavity, oh yeah, there's still some chunks of brain in there. So maybe, that smells ripe. So maybe with cooking that a little bit longer, that'll help get some of that brain tissue out of there. And just some chunks, like back in behind the eyes and things like that need to come out. But so far it looks really good. Up around the pedicles, that's kind of being difficult because those weren't all the way in the water. So maybe tomorrow I'll try and get those a little further into the water.
It's starting to look like a Euro mount though.
But yeah, it's starting to look really good. I'm really
exciting.
happy with that so far. Definitely a power washer. I've seen videos of guys doing this where they're just scraping at it the whole time and scraping at it with a knife or a screwdriver or whatever, but a power washer definitely does the trick nicely. It definitely, like back here you can see where it knocked off some of the bone in the back. I'm not too terribly concerned about that, just because that's just gonna be in the back of it. But yeah, you want to be careful up front, just because that's where everyone's gonna be able to see. So needs a little bit more cooking time.
Some cartilage in there still.
Yeah, I think some more cooking will help get that out. But eventually, I think it turns to bone. We'll have to look at one of my other ones, but pretty sure that turns to bone further up in there. But yeah, it's looking great so far.
Not too shabby.
So we got 2 more to power wash, but they'll probably turn out about like this as well. So power washer is definitely the way to go, I think. I haven't tried it the other way, but this seems to not be too difficult. Go get the others and knock them out. So this little guy here is really brittle, just not very thick bone on them. And so I'm being as careful as I can, but you can see the front broke off right here in front of his nose, which we got the bone pieces. You can actually glue them back on. I've seen videos of guys do it. We do need to pull this cartilage out and pull it off the other two as well. But he's coming pretty clean. I think we'll cook him as well, but maybe not quite as long as the other two. We'll just cook him a little bit longer because there's some of this tissue that's still stuck on pretty good, not coming off very well. But this whole back blew out, which, I mean, it's Braden's buck, but again, like this stuff in the back, you're hanging it against the wall like this, so you're not gonna see a lot of that. But yeah, it's looking really good. So overnight we're gonna soak them just in some soapy water, and so that way they don't dry out, and also maybe it'll help penetrate the bone and keep pulling those oils out. Because from what I've seen and read is a year or two later, once you've already bleached them, and they'll start to yellow again, and that's because you didn't get all the oils off of them. But yeah, pressure washer makes it super easy. Definitely recommend using a pressure washer if you have the chance to. But they've come out clean, and we'll bring you guys along tomorrow. But that's about it for today. Turned out pretty good. Alright guys, so it's the following day, and we've cooked these things a second time. They spent the night just soaking in a cold bath of soapy baking soda water, just to help maybe try and pull out some more of the oils. But we got a little more cleaning up to do. Hopefully everything else that's stuck on here comes off pretty easily. But we need to pull the cartilage out from inside the nose. So we're going to do that now. So the cartilage is just this piece here in the middle. And you can just get some pliers in there and pull it out. And there's some further up in there that I'm going to try blowing out with the pressure washer. But need to get that out of that channel. So down here in the bottom there's a groove in the center, and the cartilage follows that. Might also try getting a screwdriver and sticking it up in there. Alright, well, and you can see it got a little white around the tops or the bottoms of the antlers right here where we had it covered in water. I think that's just mainly soap and baking soda residue, maybe some fatty residue. So I'll hit that with the power washer lightly, see if it knocks that off as well. Alright, so we got all the skulls power washed now and cleaned up. All the flesh is off of them. I mean, just kind of nitpicking them, there's some stuff way up in there, but I don't know if you ever really get that out. So they look beautiful. I'm super happy with how they turned out. On mine, one of the teeth fell out, but I found it, and it looks like some of the others might fall out as well. But if that happens, don't worry, you can just put a little dab of super glue on there and you just glue them back in, no big deal. And then on Braden's, you can see there wasn't much bone here to work with, and so the whole front part of the nose has come off, but we have all the little pieces to it, and so you can actually go in and super glue it all back together just like a little puzzle, but it fits together pretty well. You just have to make sure and also clean those pieces off and bleach them, and then once it's bleached, then you can just kind of piece it all back together. But his is cleaned off as well, and so they're all three looking really good. Really happy with them so far. So we're gonna just leave them for tonight, and then we're gonna bleach them tomorrow, and so we'll show you guys that process next.